it finally happened. Mia Enderby scored a goal in the WSL.
You know
Uh,
what? I have to say, I feel like I might have called this one because in that previous episode, I distinctly remember saying, hey, it's got to happen at some point. NW will score. And yeah, I said, I think in our previous episode, I might have said NW will score or something like that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All About the W, your weekly deep dive into the WSL, stat stories and standard performances. Let's break it all down. I'm Ash, and as always, I have with me my co host, Kai. Kai, how's it been going?
okay, I'm all right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly the both of us are not in the best of shape, which is why this episode is coming to you slightly late. But we're here to do all about the game week, where we break down what happened in the WSL game week. It is a little bit late. I'm sure you've heard a lot of commentary on the game week already, but nonetheless, this is what we're doing. We also will be previewing the League Cup games. So stick around at the end of the episode for that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Do all those wonderful things. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And Kai, let's get into the WSL game week.
Yeah. Let's start with probably the most exciting game of the weekend. I mean, Ash, what can you say, right, about this game? Manchester United versus Spurs finishing 3-3. Beth England scoring in the 37th minute, Summerlin scoring in the second minute of stoppage time in the first half. Um, Martha Thomas scoring in the 62nd minute, and obviously Spurs are 3-0 up at this point. And then Toon scores in the 74th minute, and Rolfo has a brace scoring in the 82nd minute and in the 94th minute. This game, man. I was I mean I was so sure. I was so sure that United were going to drop like 3 points in this game, but I guess Spurs doing Spurs things a little bit, but also Rolfo doing Rolfo things. So let's talk about this game a little bit.
Yeah, okay, so you know, while the game was happening, you might like I swear my anger meter was off the Richter scale. Like it was so high. But now that I have had some time to deliberate and sort of come to terms with us being Spursy, um, I although I hate that word, I just feel like going into the game, if someone had told me I would be getting a draw against United away, I would have taken that like any day of the week. And coming to the game itself, we had like Nas was injured, and we had a few like hiccups, so to speak, in terms of like team selection, because Thomas obviously has not scored in 2 years, and I just felt like the whole team didn't feel all that steady. So because in the we don't have a steady backline, a fixed backline either, because like Molly Bartlett had played the previous game, and in this game we were not sure who would be playing in the backline, etc. So there were obviously like things in question about Spurs. So going in, I would definitely have taken a draw against United. But saying that, um, and another thing to add to that is we didn't start off the best. Like United were
Yeah.
all over us. In fact, you know, in terms of gameplay, United were the better team, even when they were like 2-0 or 3-0 down. Maybe not a 3-0 down, but a 2-0 down, they were definitely the better team. And they were kind of like constantly taking shots and stuff like that. They were hitting the post. Like, I swear there was a force field around our goal. And
Yeah, you know what? When the game, uh, in the first half, right? I remember like thinking, oh, this feels like it's going to be one of those games for United where they just can't, like, where it just won't go in the back of the net. Because, I mean, they hit the woodwork so many times, at least like 3 or 4 times. And
Yeah, they kept hitting the post, and they had in the first half itself, they had 14 shots and three on target. So ideally, they should have been the ones who were 3-0 up. Okay,
yeah,
so and both the first two goals came against the run of play. So, like, considering that, and like Beth England literally created that first. That was a beautiful header. Okay, just by the way, can
yeah,
discuss how beautiful that header was? Like Beth England, and I think 2 episodes ago, Beth England had scored a header, and I was talking about how Beth England knows how to angle her head perfectly so that, and she knows exactly where the ball will go when it comes into
yeah,
contact with her head, wherever it is on the pitch. And it truly is the case, because it just it glanced by her and it went
yeah.
straight into goal, and she knew
It was a
exactly where it was
rocket
going.
header.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was absolutely wonderful. Anyway, coming back to the game itself, um, that goal came out of literally nothing. The Beth
yeah,
England goal, and like the Summoning goal, slightly better in the sense that I think there was like like a cross in and stuff like that. So I can understand
yeah,
the Summoning goal a little bit better, and it was I'd say we had more role to play in the creation of the Summerlin goal as a team than in the Beth
yeah,
England goal. But both
yeah,
the goals were against the run of play, and United were like all over us like a rash. So like I can uh, I can understand us conceding based on the fact that it's not that we were playing well to begin with. We were just
yeah.
like United, I think, just were a little bit overconfident, and they overcommitted players, and we just
Hmm.
managed to take advantage of that, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Also, just for context, for everybody listening, I'm looking at the stats on FootMob, and United had an XG of 4.98,
Yeah.
and Spurs had an XG of 0.78.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that, I mean, XG stats don't always tell the story,
Yeah.
but in this game, like, that kind of matches the eye test. Because, yeah, I was really worried for United, but, to some extent, like, I was also glad that that force field happened more in the first half,
Yeah.
where they did the woodwork, like, I don't know, like 2 3 times already. So I feel like yeah, there was this, I don't know, like when they came out after the second half, first 10 15 minutes they weren't great, but I mean, obviously, I think the two things I want to talk about first is the Rolfo substitution. I think that
So,
was
so
a game changer,
the
and
reason,
first substitution. So,
so
yeah, go on.
like I also want to talk about substitutions, because the reason in the first 10 15 minutes I thought United were not great is because Spurs actually came out to play. Like I
Yeah.
think Spurs were basically like, oh, we're 2-0 up, now it's fine, we can just like actually play football. And they came out to play, and I thought that they did a decent job in those 10 15 minutes of pushing United and making them go further back. And I think that showed in terms of the Thomas goal as well. So I
Mm.
do feel like that was the only time I thought Spurs really played football.
Yeah.
Um, and but I feel like Spurs ultimately were let down by their bench, because we just don't have, like, I think this is why the transfer season is so important for us, because with Tandberg injured and with Nas injured and like all of these problems, we do have like a severe deficiency in like squad strength. And the only
Mm.
thing like um that like Ho could have done in terms of like the substitutions, etc., was essentially just to bring on like Molly Bartrip to shore up the defense. And we
Mm.
had like, he literally, that's the only substitution I think that he did, because like that's literally the only player we had who was match ready, who was a senior, who could be like brought in into this like high pressure situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's very for a club like Spurs, I think that should not be the case.
True. And I was thinking about it obviously retrospectively. Like obviously, when you're in a situation where you're like 3-1 up, the best decision you can make is, I mean, not the best, probably the most logical decision you can make is to bring on that extra defender, and and obviously Molly Bartrip has that goal line clearance, right? But based on game state, I felt that Spurs were doing really well on the offense. I felt like they were like that was their best spell in the game, and you know it was one of those attack is the best defense sort of a thing that we witnessed, and then obviously Bartrip comes on, and listen, like it's none of it is like Bartrip's fault per
Yeah.
se, but yeah, I just felt like maybe um, making that defensive substitution maybe like definitely worked against Spurs because suddenly you were sitting deeper and deeper, um, and that didn't really help.
I mean, yeah, I do agree with you, and I feel like the eventual scoreline kind of like bolsters your point. But I'd also say that, like, uh, I feel like the problem wasn't Molly Bartrip coming on. The problem was who Molly Bartrip came on for. Bethany England should not be substituted in this game because she was
Yeah,
our literally the person who was pushing us forward, the person who was, and I can understand that you feel like you're 3-1 up, you can protect that lead, whatever. But like if a player had to be substituted, I feel like, uh, I would possibly have taken off, say, Winberg or someone like that rather than take off
hmm.
Bethany England. So I don't think Molly Bartrip coming on was the problem. I think the problem was that, you should just have substituted her for a winger instead of substituting her for Bethany England. I think that really changed the shape of the team, and I think it really confused everybody. And I think it confused the defense also because after that, I did feel like defensively we were slightly like a little bit more disorganized.
Yeah,
And so I just feel like, because until then, I will give it to Koga that clear, so, like the goal line clearances and all of the, like, little tackles that she was putting in. I thought Koga had perhaps one of her best games in the Spurs kit. I know
yeah.
it's hard to say that when you conceded 3 goals, but
Hmm.
she really did have a good game. And Hunt, I thought was all right, but I thought Hunt, after Bartrip came on, that's when that side made the mistake, and like we conceded the second United goal, which is the Rolfo goal. Uh, it came like the cross came in from that direction, and nobody was marking, like from the Hunt direction, and nobody was marking whoever put the cross in. I remember now.
Yeah, I can't either. Yeah,
Yeah, but anyway, like that Rolfo goal should not have happened if like the defense was a little switched on. And
yeah.
I do feel like that's down to like messing with their organization. So
Hmm.
yeah, but like I think credit to United as well. We have to remember that United were actually really good in this game. Like
Hmm.
they started really well, then they dropped off a little bit, but then they were good again. And like they wouldn't let Spurs get out of their box at one point. So I do think that, and credit to Skinner, he used his bench really well. He brought Rolfer on, all of that. But I will say this: I still feel, I know it feels like it's a Spurs defeat, but I do feel like United were at home. They should have easily won this. They are the bigger team. They are the team that is expected to win. They were the favorites. So,
Yeah,
in that sense, I would say United played badly simply because they're expected to get all 3 points for a game like this.
yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, we said this in the preview, right? I think when we were doing predictions, I actually said, if Spurs were at home, I would have like expected, or rather, I would have maybe put my money on a Spurs win. But the fact that they went to Lee Sports Village and managed to get a point. Like big picture, right? Like when we started the conversation, you said if you told me before the game 1 point away, you would have absolutely taken it. Yeah, I just wanna like just talk about like United's mentality and especially how it sort of like how much of a difference a player like Rolfo makes, because you've seen this in flashes in the Champions League where she's sort of kind of marshalling the entire team, um, and like some oftentimes what we feel, especially United when they're not doing well, you feel like there are no leaders on the pitch there. We saw that especially when Fallon Tallis Joyce was like off injured and they were struggling a little bit. But I feel like having somebody like a Rolfer um, with her experience of playing for big teams, making comebacks and all of it, I feel like I think that's really working in United's favor. And I felt like it's not just the brace that she scored; it was just her body language. It was just how much she was like shouting at players around her, encouraging people, and just like pushing the entire team to sort of keep going until like the final whistle, because they score that fourth goal, right, third goal, and I mean there were only hardly a few seconds left of the
It
clock.
was
I was worried.
93 minutes and 55 seconds when that play started. And
Yeah,
it says 94 here on like the team sheet, but I know because I saw it in front of my eyes. Because I was counting the fucking clock down.
yeah, yeah, because when United scored the second goal, right, like the way they were going at it, I was there was a point when I felt convinced that they might actually score two goals and not just one. um, but yeah, maybe Ash, we can move on to the next game.
Yeah, anyway, moving on to Brighton versus Chelsea, which was ended 0-3 to Chelsea. Chelsea scored 3 goals. That is impressive. Baltimore scored in the 43rd minute. Hayes scored an own goal in the 51st minute. And then Thompson scored in the 73rd minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Back to being defending champions performance from Chelsea. Guy, you reckon?
Yeah, it was a good sort of controlled performance from Chelsea, which we haven't seen a whole lot in the league this season. I think um, it was probably the most calm game I've watched domestically in a while, um, because Chelsea were fully in control of this game. I thought, Cuthbert obviously comes back after her concussion, and I thought Cuthbert and Walsh were sublime in the midfield. Like Brighton midfield really struggled, and the one thing I was worried, the one player who caused us a lot of problems in this fixture last season was Madison Haley,
Yeah.
and she's been looking good for Brighton as well. I don't think she gets enough credit for her back to goal play, and um, I was really worried about Madison Haley, but Lucy Bronze like shut her down like it was nobody's business. She was
Yeah.
just all over Madison Haley. Um,
That's not
like
words you hear
trying,
every day.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those like she was challenging for headers, and funnily enough, Lucy Bronze I think lost a few headers against Madison Haley. Again, not something you hear every day because Lucy Bronze is very good in the air. But yeah, that was definitely a bright spot for Chelsea in that they gave Brighton absolutely like no opportunities. They did have like, I mean, when you look at the numbers as a whole, they had like 8 shots on goal and 4 on target. And the thing is, I was looking at the stats and I was thinking back to the game and I was like, oh, I don't remember any of these. And I realized all of those were like such tame efforts. It was just shots from range. Peng, I think, had to make like one big save in the game. Um, and it's sort of a reminder, like when you look at a team like Brighton, right? Like when they don't have the ball, what they try to do, and this is exactly what they did against London City Lionesses as well. They try to sort of turn over the ball uh, very high up in the pitch and score a quick goal, and they're very good at it. I feel like players like Haley, Seke, even Fran Kirby to some extent. Like these are all sort of key players in executing that. And I thought Chelsea did very well to A, not turn over the ball too much in their own half, but also B, like just cutting off those passing lanes when the ball was turned over. Because, you can play a high line, and this is something we've seen with Chelsea. Like we've conceded a lot of goals in transition playing a high line and then just like not being organized in playing a high line. And I feel like in this game, players like Bronze and Bright especially were very alert. They were constantly trying to intercept the ball before a pass was made. So those, like I said, cutting off those passing lanes, I thought Chelsea did really well. In terms of Chelsea's attack, I felt like obviously they were 1-0 up at halftime. It's not a massive lead. We know how, you know yeah, one a 1-0 lead. We've dropped a 1 lead a lot of times in this season. So it did we did look a bit shaky, I would say, in attack, and the goal itself is a bit of a wonder goal, right, from Sandy Baltimore. It's a lovely finish with her right foot, which she made it a point to point out in the post-match interview. She said, "I scored it with my right foot, and I've been practicing it." So, which was really nice. But you know what? Second half, the game changed when Sam Kerr came on, and captain as well, but mostly Sam Kerr, because her box presence is just something we have been missing. It is absolutely elite, and it doesn't help that Aggie is just terribly out of form right now.
Yeah.
So having this amount of fitness level that we see from Sam Kerr is really, really helpful. She's coming back into fitness at a good time for us as well. I mean, just to like give an example of Sam Kerr's box presence, right? In two games, we have forced two own goals. And I would explicitly say those were very, very, very much forced own goals, two headers, right? This is just Sam Kerr and her aura and nothing else.
Oh
Because
God.
players know how good she is in the air. Like if you look at the own goal that Roma scored, Sam Kerr goes for the header, she doesn't get it, and the defender heads it in. And in this game, Caitlin Hayes, it's really unfortunate. Like she gets to the ball first. If she has to go for that. Like she has to go. Like the only thing she could have probably done better is head it over the bar, which is what she was trying to do. But if she misses that, Sam Kerr scores that header. So just the fact that like her presence, it actually makes defenders think twice, and that's just like the level of striker she is, I think. uh, there's obviously her movement, um, and in the box, which caused all sorts of trouble for Brighton, right? Like they were scrambling at times. Sam as well as captain should have scored like one more goal each. But even that third goal, sort of comes from Sam drifting out wide, cutting the ball back to Thompson. And I thought Thompson did really well there as well, like it was a really nice finish from her. But yeah, I mean, like it's just like when Sam Kerr is playing, we look like a different team. And I don't know what to think about that, because it's crazy that we're still relying, despite Sam being out for 2 years, she comes back and she's still our best striker. I think that says more about Sam Kerr than it does about, I guess, I don't know, other footballers, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I want Sam to start against Wolfsburg, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if she starts the game. Obviously, she played 45 minutes, so yeah. Okay, Ash, let's move on to Manchester City versus Aston Villa, which finished 6-1. Obviously, City, or more specifically, Bunny Shaw, wiping the floor with Aston Villa. Um, Bunny Shaw scored 4 goals. She even nicked one off of Grace Clinton, which is funny. But anyway, Shaw scored in the 37th minute, 45 plus 2 minutes, 84th minute, and then the 94th minute. And then, like, obviously, Fujino and Miedema somewhere managed to make their mark in the 63rd and the 74th minute respectively, and Lucy Parker scored in the 70th minute for Aston Villa. I mean, what is there to say about this game? Just hand City the trophy already.
Yeah, I swear. Like, I think they were just like, uh, I think, people were very like, oh, City's going to win the title, City's going to win the title. But people were not like giving them like credit for being this amazing, sort of like unstoppable force, because they were getting past games. It was very like 2-1, 3-1. They were doing well, but it wasn't like they were not blowing people away or anything. So that's why that fear of City had not yet set in. But I feel like after this game, definitely everyone's, because it's Villa, right? It's not like they beat Leicester 6-1. They beat Aston Villa 6-1. I mean, Villa, the draw merchants against the big teams, etc. And I don't even think Villa played badly. Like, Kirsty Hansen in the starting of the game had that one big run in which she
Yeah.
almost managed to score, and they managed to get on the score line as well with like that Parker goal later on in the game. But like, it just felt like the Bunny Shaw show. And you know what scares me? Bunny Shaw, okay, just by the way, Bunny Shaw, 103 goals in 120 appearances. What a player. I think she might be the best striker in the WSL, one of the best strikers in the world. Like, there is just nothing, like, there is no more complimentary things you can say about Bunny Shaw. And like, I'm sorry, City fans, but please stop making the "we have the best two strikers in the world at our club" comment on Twitter, because you are reducing Bunny Shaw by comparing Bunny Shaw to Haaland. I'm sorry.
Oh, oh, oh,
Bunny Shaw
oh,
is
shots fired.
yeah, Bunny Shaw is a supreme striker. There is not a thing Bunny Shaw cannot do. This player is a once in a generation talent. Um, anyway, but what scares me about City is not Bunny Shaw's being Bunny Shaw, which is amazing. Like, the runs she was making, the ball she was winning in the air, everything was going right for Bunny Shaw. But what scares me about City is the fact that Fujino and Miedema and Yui Hasagawa are all in form. Okay,
Yeah.
that ball that Miedema
And
supplied,
Miedema, yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That ball that Miedema supplied to Fujino for that Fujino goal, holy curveball! Like, it literally, okay. So there's Miedema at somewhere near the halfway line. There is
Yeah.
Fujino making the run. There are two like defenders at various spots for Villa, and and Miedema like literally does like this loopy ball. It like curves into and directly into Fujino's feet. Okay,
Yeah.
oh my god. I'm just like, if you have Bunny Shaw, who is this like goal scoring machine, and then you accompany it by Minima putting balls in like that,
Yeah.
like, I feel like, how do you can't stop that. And I think what Villa have used to get all these big draws against like the big teams has been their counter, right? So you'll obviously have people like Banisha and Midaba doing what they're doing best, which is making these runs and making these passes or whatever. Uh, but Villa have counted on her Hansen running the opposite way or whatever. But what happened in this game is Yui Hasagawa's work rate meant
Hmm.
that was impossible, you know.
Yeah.
And this is what's frightening me about City, that everyone's in form and Greenwood is back. Like, they're only going to get better from here.
Yeah.
Like, it
No,
just
you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, I feel like City are finally at that place where they have the depth. Like, for example, look at Mary Fowler. She's gonna come back soon,
yeah,
right? She's gonna be in a place where City are not like forced to start her.
yeah,
Last season, I think the biggest problem was there were players out injured, and then more players were getting injured, and then you were forcing players to come back sooner than they had to. Like, you saw that with, say, somebody like a Hemp or something. Like, they come back, they're kind of forced to play more minutes than they should because of the injuries, and then they get injured again. So from that perspective, just having the depth that they have, I think it sets them up really nicely. And you have other players who know, like Blinkilde Brown, um, who's just like going about her business. Jade Rose, players who are just like going about their business, without making too much noise, but they're doing a job and they're doing it well. So yeah, I think City, I mean, player for player across the pitch, I think better than any squad in the league, any starting 11 in the league right now, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the best starting 11 of any team. And like uh, even Hemp, like I thought Hemp was really good. And like you have all of these, and it's not even about the starting 11. It's about the fact that there are all of these like bit players who come in and do a job. Like in the starting of the season, I didn't expect Brinkilde Brown to be starting every game, but she is, and she's right up there coping with all of these other players doing an amazing job. Nark, Nark and Rose,
Yeah.
both of them are extremely like I. Even if Greenwood doesn't play a minute more, it won't matter. Clinton is now coming in, and like in this game, Manisha pitched a goal off of Clinton, but Clinton got an assist. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, oh, Carolyn, how can I forget Carolyn? Didn't like so. Carolyn comes in, doesn't do much, and suddenly she just like puts the ball into Bunny Shaw's feet, and then Bunny Shaw scores, and you're just like, damn, there is nobody who can come into this team that does not provide assist to Bunny Shaw,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know. So it's just and at the starting of the season, Bene was also scoring, and like I hope that she continues to do that, but literally everyone who came in the substitutes did a job. Clinton got an assist, Carolyn got an assist, Benny was whatever good,
Mm.
Loman was all right, like she did a job, and so I feel like that is what's scary to me. It's not the playing 11 that's scary, it's the fact that that stupid bench looks like that.
Yeah, the bench is really good, and I just, yeah, they just look like a team that's going to win the league. Like
Yeah,
I'm not, and I'm not saying it lightly, and I'm not just saying because of the point difference or even because of the 6-1 win, like
yeah,
a big win, like everything, like it colors your judgment a little bit, right? But for me, I think it's just the fact that they're going about their business,
yeah,
and they have this, you know when you need to win the league, you need like contributions from all over the pitch.
yeah,
Yes, you have a star striker who is excellent. She's in like flying form, or rather coming into flying form, which is even a scarier thing, I would say.
yeah,
And um, and then you also have players like Fujino, Miedema, who contribute every other game with a goal or an assist, like,
yeah.
or with a goal rather, and
Hemp as
consistently
well.
with assists. Hemp as well. So I think that is what you need, that kind of reliability all over the pitch. I think that's something City has lacked in the past few years, where this over reliance on Bunny Shaw. And don't get me wrong, say if Shaw gets injured, they will struggle. They will struggle. But you know what? Compared to last season, I feel like this season, because like even if they don't have a target player, they might have to change how they play a little bit. I still feel like there is enough in that squad to actually get them over the line, not just Champions League spot. I'm talking like actually going and winning that title.
Yeah, yeah, I really hope they do. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on, Kai, to West Ham versus Liverpool, which ended 2-2. Ueki scored in the 57th minute, Enderby in the 59th minute, Shiki scored in the 68th minute, Olsen in the 87th minute. Kai, Olsen is the best thing you ever bought. And then Bonner had a red in the 19th minute. Um, Interesting game, you would say, Kai?
Yeah, it was probably the most exciting game apart from the United Spurs game in the weekend. Um, yeah, I thought this game was a bit like frantic. It was just it had this weird energy about it, and like like we predicted a West Ham. I think I predicted a West Ham win because West Ham is not like an easy place to go to, and Liverpool have looked a bit shaky. Um, and when you watch this game in in the beginning, you're just like convinced that West Ham are going to win this game because they had a really fast start, couple of good chances, one for Ueki and one for Asei, and this is just before the red card, right? And I feel like because of the kind of start that West Ham had, is what forces Bonner to make the challenge she makes on Ueki.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to talk about the challenge as well as the decision to give it a red because that is never a red card. It's just never a red card. I'm sorry. Clark is right beside Ueki, and Bonner is sort of sliding in for a challenge from behind for sure. It's definitely a yellow, but it's not a dangerous challenge at all. Like it's not studs up or anything. And you know, like that was my concern. Like, did the ref think that it was a dangerous challenge and that's why she gave it a red? I genuinely think the ref thought Ueki was through on goal and Bonner was the last defender, which is just not true. Like Clark was ahead of Bonner by a little bit, not by much, but she was right beside Ueki. What else do you need to see? You can clearly see that Bonner is challenging her from behind. You can clearly see that Jenna Clark is right behind Ueki, beside Ueki. So it's just such a poor decision. It's just, you know, you're sending off a player in the 18th minute. Just use your head a little bit. No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like sending off a player that early should never happen in circumstances like this where it is unclear.
Yeah.
Like when in doubt, you just have to go with the yellow.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's just, you know, I was watching the game and I was like, oh, maybe this kills the game, a little bit. But
Yeah.
no, they wanted to make it as fun as they possibly could. For West Ham, I thought Katrina Gori, Rico Ueki, as well as Fionn Morgan were exceptional. Gori was so good at winning the ball back in the midfield consistently. It was just uh, we haven't seen this version of Gori in a while, and I thought um, I don't think Liverpool. Listen, credit like fair play to Liverpool as well. They were a player down, but I still feel like they gave Gori too much respect. If you want to sort of get any sort of control in that West Ham midfield, probably the player you want to target is Katrina Gori. I don't think they did a good job of that. I think the other thing is I feel like Fionn Morgan is an underrated player. I enjoyed watching her for Bristol City when they were in the WSL. She was yeah, definitely a fun player to watch, and she's had a few good games this season as well. She's not terribly consistent, but she carries the ball well. She's a good crosser of the ball, and she's fast as well. And the goal she scores is a bit not the goal she scores, the second goal that West Ham score. She's the one who takes a shot, and it's a bit fortuitous how it goes in. Um, but yeah, definitely a good player on the hands, and hopefully she gets to start more. I think she started 6 out of 11 games or something, maybe more starts for Fionn Morgan. Yeah, and Ash, it finally happened. Mia Enderby scored a goal in the WSL.
You know
Uh,
what? I have to say, I feel like I might have called this one because in that previous episode, I distinctly remember saying, hey, it's got to happen at some point. NW will score. Or, and yeah, I said, I think in our previous episode, I might have said NW will score or something like that.
yeah, I think it's just I've seen it so many times
Yeah.
because Mia is like one of those players who likes running off the shoulder
Yeah.
of defenders, right? So like I've seen this so many times where Mia Enderby is through on goal and she doesn't finish the chance, but
Yeah.
she did this time. I've been waiting for it to happen for about 2 years now, and
Hey,
yeah, I
hey,
mean,
it's a time of first this weekend. Martha Thomas scored, NDB scored, all the people without goals.
yeah. I mean, I think I texted you saying it's a magical weekend in the WSL
Yeah.
because these two scored a goal. Um, but yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it was a composed finish, and you could see how happy the team was for her. Like, we talk about it, about how NW is not scored in the WSL. You know that they're also talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, that before every match, they like people speak to NW and like tell her that you can do this.
Yeah.
So to see that team celebrate the way they did, it was really nice. And NW looked like emotional. You could tell that it's like this monkey on her back that's
Yeah.
just stayed there forever. So it was a really nice moment that West Ham, I feel like, should have scored more goals. They should have scored more goals from open play because they created good chances, and both of their goals sort of come from set pieces. But for the equalizer that they conceded, the second one, which Olsen scored, like, it was a poor pass from Asai, but also you can see that the West Ham defense is switched off a little bit. And in terms of form, if there's one player you do not want to switch off around, is right now is probably Olsen.
Yeah.
I I mean, I might be a bit crazy in saying this, but I haven't seen a player who's this good in 1v1 situations against a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Like, you know, maybe it's just because, for example, players like Bunny Shaw or Sam Kerr or Russo or whoever it is, top four elite strikers, like, they get a lot of chances. Like, as a striker, you have to get a lot of shots off. Um, and and therefore, like, you're gonna miss a few. That's obviously true. Like, Sam Kerr, dreadful in 1v1 situations. Like, I can't remember one goal she scored like that. You know, so, like, to see a player who can take their chance in situation like this, in a team like Liverpool, it's crazy. It looks like maybe that might actually be Olsen's like biggest strength,
Yeah.
which I feel like you don't see a lot in the women's game. I think she's just extremely calm in these situations, and they're all like, the more you have the ball, you're running towards a goal, you're overthinking it. That's why
Yeah.
everybody's missing these chances, right? So I mean, it just feels like it's bread and butter to her. Uh, yeah, it's really nice to watch. Like, it's nice to see a player who's through on goal and you can be like 99% sure that this person is going to score.
Yeah.
Yeah, credit to Liverpool, man. They conceded a bunch of chances. I don't think, like, based on like the game state, they should have gotten 1 point.
Yeah.
But, like, even though they conceded a bunch of chances, I thought again Kirby was really good in this game, and you know, despite being a player down, going away to West Ham, who you are, probably going to be in a relegation battle with. I think, uh, you know, uh, credit to Liverpool for sure.
I mean, I feel bad for Liverpool. The fact that they are in a relegation battle at all. I think, and the fact that they have a red now, which means that they've lost Gemma Bonner. Uh,
I mean, to be fair, Bonner was injured all this while. She just came back for this game
yeah,
and now
but
she's
like they
gone
were
again.
waiting on her to come back because they needed senior players. Like,
Yeah.
they're really down
No,
to
but
like
you know
bare
what?
bones.
Like, do you think they challenge this red? Because I think they should challenge this red. Can you
I'm
challenge
sure
this
they
red?
must have. Like, somebody must have put in a challenge or whatever. I don't know how these things work. I hope they have challenged it, but like, I feel so bad for them. I mean, I'm glad that Olsen's scoring, and I'm glad that Enderby is now scoring or scored
Yeah.
one goal.
One
Scoring,
goal.
it might be a little bit much to say. But like, I feel bad for Liverpool. Like, as if it wasn't enough that they have such a scan squad. Now they have a red also, and this player can't play for the next 3 games. It just
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah. It is a real shame, and I feel like they've been struggling a bit in defense. I feel like even Shimizu has been she was injured. She came back. She's gone off injured again. Bernabe is a bit unreliable as well, injury wise. She's also coming back into fitness. So yeah, Fisk is also injured. So there's a lot of injuries in that back line as well. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It's a big blow for Liverpool for sure. As let's move on, maybe to Everton versus Arsenal, which finished 3-1 to Arsenal. McCabe opened the scoring for Arsenal with like an absolute worldly of a finish. Hayashi equalized pretty quickly in the 13th minute, and then Russo scored in the 15th minute. Wow, those are like goals very close to each other. It's literally like scored a goal, celebrated, scored a goal, celebrated, scored a
Honestly, if
goal.
you just watched those 6 minutes of that game, that would have been enough. You don't have to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, and Olivia Smith scoring in the 87th minute. Again, a really nice finish from her.
Yeah.
Ash, obviously, this could have potentially been a tough game for Arsenal, given Everton's recent performances. But yeah, they did enough. Got the 3 points. What did you make of this game?
I think it was very much a job done sort of situation for Arsenal. Kim Little is back, which is, I'm sure, um, most Arsenal fans are rejoicing that they don't have to worry about their midfield anymore because they're back to having Mariona and Little in the midfield. Their golden duo, handpicked by Renee Sleggers and God. Anyway, like, I thought they did a good job. I thought that they, like the scoreline says 3-1, but I thought that Arsenal, they did create a lot of, like, they created a lot of chances. Like, they had a 3.0 not 2 XG, which I think is fair in terms of the way the game panned out. Like, they had 10 shots on target. They should have scored more goals. Arguably, I would say that what my only criticism of Arsenal is that they needed two bites of the apple to score a goal in every situation. Like the first goal, it like sort of ricochets in the box, and then McCabe scores it from outside the box. Great goal, by the way, from McCabe. But I think Russo was the person who first took the shot.
Yeah,
Then the second goal as well. The Russo goal was there was a little bit of pinging around in the box, and then finally, I
yeah. I
think,
thought Caitlin Ford finished that one,
yeah, even I thought
but
Ford finished that one, but it's been credited to Russo, so I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
think it had already crossed the line
So
when
so
Rawson
I think
caught
it
it.
was Russo was on the left, and Russo like puts it in, and then it kind of pings out, and then Ford kind of like just like dumbles. Ford is right next to the goalkeeper and just like sort of like
Yeah.
pushes it in, kind of.
Hmm.
But like, um whoever finished that. So basically, my point is that they need two bites of the apple to score a goal. I mean, apart from that fantastic Olivia Smith goal. Olivia Smith doesn't need any bites of the apple. Olivia Smith can
Yeah.
like conjure a goal from like invisibility.
Nothing.
Um,
Yeah.
but uh,
But
I
don't you think Ash, like, I mean, maybe I'm speaking about this as uh like a Chelsea fan whose team just doesn't have anybody in the box at all times.
No,
Like
I'm
there's
saying
no one in
Arsenal
the
played really, really well. I thought that they played really well. They had control of the midfield. They had control of the box. Like, like I'm nitpicking here in terms of like any, because it was well orchestrated. It was well carried out. That
yeah.
Hayashi goal came out of nothing, and it was a really like against the game of state of play. And Hayashi's second goal in 2 games, by the way. Great
Yeah.
job, Hayashi. It was kind of a worldie, so it wasn't really something you could defend against. So Arsenal,
Yeah.
in terms of just the state of play, did everything right. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think they had a foot out wrong. Like, everything they did right. I mean, they did miss three big chances, but it doesn't matter because they also scored three big goals. So, like, I would say Arsenal were far and away, like, they had an 88% pass accuracy as a team. Like,
Right.
they were amazing. They were really good. Like, not as much has been made because City won 6-1, and Chelsea won
Hmm.
3-0, and so not much has been made of Arsenal's defeat of Everton. But Everton is not an easy team to break down. Chelsea are evidence to the fact, because
Yeah.
and I will say this about Everton need to stop believing that they can just sit back and be organized and it will work against every team. Like, you
Yeah.
do have to like have a a plan for playing out and for winning the battle in the midfield as well. I do feel like Everton was sitting way too deep in many big chunks of this game, and
Hmm.
that's fair. Like, I understand you beat Chelsea like that, but it won't
Yeah.
work for you every week, every day, every time you play a big team. Um,
True.
but I mean, to be fair, you're not expected to beat a big team doing that every week either. So I understand that. But I do feel like I'd like to see Everton come up with a plan against a team of their own caliber and execute it really well, because
Yeah.
I do feel like it's been a while since we've actually seen Everton play well against somebody of their own caliber. Uh,
Yeah. And you know what? I will also say, if you look at the teams in and around them, and I'm talking teams like Liverpool, West Ham, Leicester. Um, I feel like when you look at these four teams, I actually feel like Everton have the best like midfield.
Yeah, no,
They have a lot of talent.
I arguably they have a better midfield than Villa, who is in eighth.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So I think, yeah, they should try and make use of that a little bit more. I also liked how Brian Sorensen, there was like some shots fired. I felt like he was being particularly, yeah. I don't know. I feel like he knew what he was doing when he said Arsenal are the best team in the league on their day. And this comes obviously after they beat Chelsea and have lost to Arsenal. So it just made me smile a little bit, that comment.
Yeah. It is. I did think Arsenal played better than Chelsea did against Everton, definitely.
I mean, 100%. There's no doubt about it.
But uh, like, I thought it was, Arsenal, very professional performance. The fact that you're playing all these games midweek and stuff like that, and you're still managing to put in these really professional performances where it's not in doubt who's winning the game at any
Yeah,
point, I think is really commendable. And Arsenal, another one of those that are slowly like climbing up the table very quietly as United drop points. So
yeah,
now they're back in third, which is where ideally you'd want them to be. And I feel like they're only 2 points off of Chelsea. And
yeah.
Chelsea should definitely be worried about the fact that Arsenal are now in form.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Arsenal are in a good place right now, and it's going to be interesting what that January window looks like as well, because we've seen Arsenal struggling a little bit when, say, Kim Little is not there or Leah Williamson is not there. So yeah, I think maybe the title challenge is a bit of a moot point. I don't know, maybe not, but the second and third positions that are up for grabs, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it plays out. But yeah, big midweek game for both Arsenal, Chelsea, as well as United in the Champions League as well. So let's see how these teams translate the form into the Champions League games.
Yeah, probably going to be fun. Moving on though, we have Leicester versus LCL, which ended 1-0. I would say perhaps the most boring game. But I will say all this as well. Kai, you were right in saying LCL's form will drop off.
Mm.
I do feel like that's happening. O'Brien scored in the 59th minute. What did you make of this?
Yeah, I think it's, what you're seeing with LCL right now is their inability to finish off chances. We saw this against Brighton, and we saw this again against Leicester. Um, like Leicester are going to give you the ball, and LCL had like most of the possession. And you know what? They did win the ball back in a dangerous area a couple of times. Like I think Teoro did it once, and Paris did it once, but the cross was not there. The decision making was a bit poor. I think Goodwin did have a really good chance which he couldn't put away. Uh, so yeah, I think LCL are right now struggling a little bit in front of goal. I wouldn't be surprised if they go in for an attacking player in um, in the January window, because I do feel like, Goodwin is a good player to have around, but considering LCL's like ambitions, she's definitely not been able to like get those numbers that they probably want from their striker. Um, and listen, she's a young player, and maybe it's a lot of pressure on her shoulders to score a lot of goals for a team. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how uh, pressure sets them up in the second half of the season. Uh, and you know what? I thought Leicester were really good with the amount of possession they had. I felt like every time they went forward, there was a lot of intention, and that's something you want, right? When you're not playing with the ball, you want to clearly know where you'll be, where your teammates will be when you do win the ball eventually. And that's exactly what Leicester did. I felt like every time they won the ball back, they looked like they were going to score. And obviously the goal that they score as well, it's poor defending from London City Lionesses. I think maybe Sangare is a player who could have done a little better there. Fernandez as well, but definitely Sangare. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how these two, like, we think everything is sort of set in stone in the first half of the season, but especially the bottom of the table just like changes so quickly in the
Yeah.
second half of the season. Like, you remember how Villa were like 12th and then suddenly they finished
Yeah,
6th
yeah,
last
yeah.
season.
Yeah.
It's mad, right? So everything's on the table at this point, and I think the player that probably needs the biggest shout out is Leipzig. She
Yeah.
had a mad game. Like, she had some really brilliant saves, and of course, Aslani misses that penalty. I mean, it was a chance for a late equalizer. I mean, that penalty was so slow.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, obviously, Leipzig does well in like going the right way, but yeah, it's a good save. But yeah, Leipzig definitely kept Leicester in the game, and you need that from your goalkeeper, right? Like, this is what we talk about in the league. Like, every team has a good shot stopper,
Yeah. Yeah.
and as like a bottom of the table like team, you definitely need a good shot stopper. So
Yeah.
Leipzig is that, and I thought she, yeah, definitely kept Leicester in the game. A few good saves, but at the same time, I feel like LCL are going to be disappointed with the quality of the chances that they've been creating. It's just not been good enough in the last couple of games.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kai, that brings us to the end of our WSL roundup, but we also have to do a small preview of the League Cup games. So, this is the quarterfinal draw for the League Cup, and I need you to react. Kai, you have ended up with Liverpool, so it's Liverpool versus Chelsea. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't feel much. Just play it, win it, lose it. It's okay.
I hate y'all big team. I'm glad you're getting kicked out of the League Cup. I hope it happens sooner.
No, you know what? I'm saying this on the day I'll be livid if we lose.
Yeah.
Uh, no, but yeah, it's a tough draw. Liverpool away is always it's a tough game for us. Um, and I mean, that's what is fun about cup competitions, right? It's a one-off game.
Yeah.
uh, Liverpool turn up on the day. Hopefully, there's a few days to go leading up to that game. Maybe like somebody like a Grace Fisk is fit for the game, and they have a player like Olsen. Like, that's the kind of player you want in your team in like cup games.
Yeah.
Somebody who's like an absolute game changer. So um, obviously Chelsea would have like learned a lot of lessons from having played this fixture in the league. So yeah, I mean,
Predictions,
I think
Kai.
Chelsea will win. I think Chelsea will win like 3-1.
3-1 Chelsea. Are we counting this in our all about the
Yeah, yeah,
bragging
we should. We absolutely should.
3-1 you said for Chelsea. Yeah, I also think Chelsea will win, so I'm gonna go 2-1 Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea. Chelsea. West Ham versus City, Kai.
I mean, you gotta go with City, right?
Yeah.
And funny thing is how like top four teams have managed to avoid each other.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it
just a
sucks.
bit. It's. I feel like it's a setup. I'm sorry. I think
Yeah.
it's rigged.
Okay, conspiracy central and all about the W.
Yeah, and I mean the draw as well. It's anyway. I think the less we speak about it, the better. West Ham versus City. You gotta go with City. I'm gonna go like 3-1 City.
You want that's the score, right? I was going with, but I reckon City actually taking the league seriously probably play the young kids in this.
Hmm.
Um, so I can see it being harder. I can see it being 2-1 City. Uh,
I feel like they'll play their full strength team. Abhi to, like they don't have a midweek game.
that is true.
uh, and and also like yes, City are in a good position to win the league, but this is their opportunity to win as much silverware as possible. And if you look at I think the path is going to be, if City win, then they'll either face Chelsea or Liverpool in the semi-finals. Both, like I would say, beatable teams. Like they're in a good position to even win the League Cup as well, is what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I don't think they'll take it lightly at all.
Okay, guy. Rerun Central United versus Spurs.
Oh, oh damn, it's happening
Oh,
back to back.
I'm so upset that it's United. How the hell did we end up with United again?
You know what? I would be really impressed with Spurs if they can pull off a win in this game. Because I feel like, having played that game just a week before, obviously both teams will have like a lot of learnings. And how does the manager sort of put that into like effect, and like put those learnings into effect is going to be really interesting. Um, Spurs have a midweek game. I think they're going away for this. Sorry, Spurs, name. Sorry, United have a midweek game, so they're going away for that. Um, I'm gonna go with Spurs.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna go with like 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Hey, I have to go for Spurs. Nobody forced you. But uh, so yeah, I feel like United will never get caught out by Spurs again. Like it's not happening.
Hmm.
I now that they know how tough it is to beat Spurs, I think they'll be on their A game. But uh, even doing that, they have a midweek game and they have a scan squad. So I'm gonna go 1-0 Spurs.
Can I just say it's a bit weird that it's happening on this side of the year. Like, as in, usually, this game happens like in Jan, and imagine if like this game had happened in Jan and you had your new signings, like
Yeah,
Blackstad and Brexit and all. Like, again,
yeah,
like this is again a competition that Spurs are probably looking at as like potentially something they can win. And it's such a shame that's happening now because, yeah.
yeah. To be
Anyway,
fair, United would have also bolstered their squad, so it's fine, whatever.
true, true. Yeah, it is fine. Yeah, it's the same rules for everybody. That's
Yeah,
also the
yeah, yeah.
case.
Palace versus Arsenal, guy. You reckon Palace do something?
Mm, they've looked. I mean, I liked their game in the last game in the League Cup that they played. I thought they looked okay. I still don't see them getting a win against Arsenal, unfortunately. I think again something to remember. Arsenal also have a midweek game. Not they're going away, not the toughest one, but I mean, if you don't want to call OH Leo in a tough game because they've given a tough time for a lot of teams, so you don't know. But I think Arsenal will come away with this one. I'm gonna go 2-0 Arsenal.
2-0 to Arsenal. Uh, I think it's going to be a drubbing 4-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, fair enough.
I feel like Arsenal are in the mood to score, and I'm kind of hoping that all the teams are going to take some like inspiration from the 6-1 that City just did, and just go on a riot, score lots of goals this game week slash League Cup week.
Yeah. I was thinking like. about the league, right? Obviously, like Chelsea are 6 points behind City,
Yeah.
but also terribly behind on like goal difference as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's going to be so hard to make. So yeah. Anyway, they're on fire, and yeah, maybe other teams take a leaf out of their book. Uh,
Yeah.
Everyone but Chelsea. Clearly, you think Chelsea will score only 2 goals.
Yeah,
So.
so I'm sorry, Kai. But to be fair, Baltimore has joined the scoring party for Chelsea, so who knows? Things might take a swing, an upswing, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
that brings us to the end of this episode. It was a slightly scattered episode, but please excuse us. Both of us are not in the best of shape. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment on who you think is going to win in these League Cup games. Comment on how you feel about the WSL games of the weekend. Like, subscribe, all of those things. We will see you next with the for the Champions League. Bye bye.
Yeah.